Good morning, friends. You are most welcome to Think Eyes channel. Today we are going to discuss comparative ethnography, in which we are discussing introduction to ethnography, and our topic is writing cultures and phenomenological. Phenomenological, while values, consciousness, and meaning became part of the interpretative approach, there was one area that was not yet touched, namely the variety of ways in which humans can experience the world. According to positivism, there can be only one sensory perception for all humans. If there is something out there, everyone will perceive it in the same way. Thus, Benton and Craib, Craib 2001, tell us based on the observations made by Chomsky and others that our ability to identify people, recognize faces, interpret a landscape, and so on is not just a matter of having sense organs which are in good order, but it also involves active processes of conceptual ordering and interpretation of which we are mostly unaware. All experiences is to some extent shaped by our previously acquired map of the world. This would then put into doubt most of the scientific explanation, as even if what we observe is guided by our basic organizing concepts that we acquire rather than have intrinsically as a common human facility. Thus, rather than assuming that the world exists as taken for granted in each instance, it is important to understand how the lived world of the people we study is constituted. Many modern ethnographers immerse themselves in the field to gain the experimental dimension of this construction, whereby, rather than trying to get an objective view of the world, they will they try to recreate the subjectivity of experience in a completely reflexive manner. I will give a couple of examples to illustrate this. Sachs 2009 writes, through sheer intellectual force, thinkers like Foucault and Derrida engendered widespread skepticism about whether we can ever achieve a reasonably accurate empirical or objective view of the world. In his book Fieldwork Experience, he writes, I began to feel bad omen everywhere, began to fear and began to fear that I was headed towards some kind of supernatural disaster when I was actually in the field, surrounded by fierce demons and ghosts. My anxiety were often terrible. It is common for anthropologists to subject themselves to such experiential world that they feel rather than observe. Sarah Caldwell not only recounts her experiences but also exposes her own letters and diaries as part of her ethnography. In other words, she makes public what Malinowski wrote in his diary in secret. My husband, especially, is having a very hard time adjusting. Besides the disorientation, loneliness, and heat, he is extremely jealous towards the men I have to work with. At the same time, I am also developing a real love for the goddess Bhagwati. She is something wild and powerful and ancient. It will be incredibly weird to return to the US after another year of this. I truly feel I am on another planet in another Yuga era altogether. Cardwell 1999. Another piece from the same ethnography. One evening at dusk, as we drove to the seashore in a jeep, Another piece from the same ethnography. One evening at dusk, as we drove to the seashore in a jeep, wind rustling through our hair, the thin skin of my reality was suddenly pierced. As I turned my head, I caught a fleeting glimpse of Bhagwati, red and black, coming towards us through a grove of trees. As we glided through the silent flooded paddy fields, we passed a tiny island with 20 coconut trees growing miraculously from its tiny area of soil. Just as our boat approached, a strong wind came up and rushed, rushed led their leaves uncannily. Again I had feeling of a host of Bhagavatis reaching out to greet me, tall tall green mothers, roots deep in the moist brown soil, heads touching the sky. Such kind of critical reflexivity is interspersed, interexpressed with accurate and detailed observation, historical information, and descriptions, but the reader is left to make their own conclusions from all this. And another recent trend, anthropologists have also begun to move away from the exotic, as illustrated in both and above examples of Western anthropologists working in India, towards day to day situation that they may face in their own context. However, the term exotic is valid only for the Euro American anthropologist, a point of view not always made clear even today. Thus, when Marcus 1999 writes about the loss of exotic strangeness, he is, of course, referring to American anthropologists situated in their own familiar surroundings. Thus, what may be still called traditional ethnography continues to be practiced as above in the Garhwal and Kerala in India, and new kinds of research projects in anthropology differently problematized and innovatively conducted. Take us to backyards in New York or London. Doing fieldwork in the late 20th century world, and now the 21st century has opened up possibilities of living in a world that is getting less and less graspable, where reality is getting ever more complex. Some ways of dealing with these have been to situate fieldwork in multiple sites instead of one, so that now the idea of multi-sited ethnography is acceptable and is being done rather than taking systems or bounded communities as unit of study. It has been found more expedient to take social formations as defined by issues and problems groups that may arise situationally, say refugees or migrants or gays, and people affected by urban projects, etc. Since many of them may exhibit dispersed features, they may have to be studied in multiple sites and locations. The notion of the space and time have also undergone conceptual transformation, and one very radical departure is that ethnography has now become one kind of writing, as among others, from being the only kind of writings about people who did not write. Thus, people that ethnographers write about are also represented and represent themselves in various forms of writings, literature, prose, poems, and essays. So, the ethnography need to renegotiate what has already been represented, written about, and read about. There are other agents like the legal documents and media that produce powerful rhetoric and representation about, say, spatial action groups, identities, and situations that then need to be reformulated within the ethnographies, making them far more complex and multivocal than those based only on direct observations. A new kind of issues is now often raised regarding the situation of the ethnographer who has moved away from the outsider or objective observer to the position of one who may be as insider to the situation under study. Here, how does an indigenous scholar write about her own people? A gay anthropologist study other gays, and so on, has been a contentious issue, but also acceptable as both possible and normal. Thus, as Marcus put it, these new narratives from differently situated vantage points of studies has given rise to change definition of what an ethnography based upon the profound effect on research of recognizing certain affinities and identifications between the reflexive predicaments of the ethnographer and those he or she studies. Marcus 1999. In India, for example, an entire genre of Dalit studies has made a critical statement about the manner in which caste system was studied and represented by the elite. Thus, while scholars like Dumont, Srinivas, and Vitali have described the logic and rationality of the caste system from structural and the functional points of view, often taking into account the scriptural and textual material, they have ignored the experiential realities of caste, especially from the point of view of the oppressed. Thus, Dalit scholars and those who have looked at caste from the bottom present a completely different understanding of the institution.